Now playing movie reviews in 20 Qs.
Hello, good people, and welcome to the podcast Movie Reviews in 20 Qs, the show where we review a movie by asking 20 weird and wonderful questions about it. I am Yo-Ho with a bottle of rum, and I am here to throw 20 questions at the film Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. Now, usually we get our regulars in to guest on this episode, but due to a certain virus that none of us are going to be talking about, I had to throw a coin into the ocean to see what ripples would go out there and who would respond. The first of which was Thomas from the History of Aotearoa podcast. Hey Thomas, how you doing?
Kia ora, it's very good to be here. It's very good that someone that I've guested on a podcast has actually pronounced Aotearoa correctly. That's very exciting for me because that doesn't normally happen.
I've been working on it for 37 years, but I'm glad to finally use it in a podcast. So the other one that responded very quickly, was very keen, couldn't wait to be on, was Brad from the Fate of Eisen podcast. So Brad, sorry bro, you reminded me that we needed Jules on. Hey Jules, how you doing?
Hey! I thought you'd introduce me earlier when you said yo-ho, because that's normally how Brad introduces me, so, you know, what's up?
Now Jules, you...
And also, wait, Brad, ha! Suck it! I'm here.
The best part is, Jules, he sent me nothing but angry messages all week about how I'm dead to him, so that's brilliant. Cheers, Jules. Before we get into it, Jules, you picked the movie, but even more importantly, you've actually dressed up for the podcast. You've got your little pirate's hat on, corset, everything. This is amazing.
Yeah. Even my earrings have little, like, skulls on them. Yeah.
You really went all out.
Yeah. I tend to do that. I think people call it going overboard.
Yeah.
But that seemed on brand as well, so...
Jules, you actually picked this movie. Was there any particular reason why you picked it?
I kind of like this movie. Like, childishly like this movie. You know, it's fun and it's fun to talk about, so...
Excellent. Well, we're going to see how much you like this movie in a second because... The person that has seen this movie the most recently has to give a plot. Before we do that, I'm just going to whip through a little bit of details. So yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl came out in 2003, directed by Gore Verbinski, famously based on a theme park ride at Disneyland, if you can fucking believe that. Production budget of $140 million, made $654 million worldwide, starring Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow, Jeffrey Rush as Barbossa, Orlando Bloom as Will Turner, Keira Knightley as Elizabeth Swann, Jack Davenport as Norrington, Jonathan Pryce as Governor Swan, and then Zoe Saldana, didn't even recognize her. Blink and you miss it, she's played Ana Maria. Now, yeah, the plot. Jules, you watched it today. What's the plot of this film, bud?
Yeah, sweet. So, a pirate gets his ship stolen, essentially, and the person who steals the ship, or the captain, the new captain, but I reluctantly call him captain, goes and, like, steals some cursed treasure. And when they steal that cursed treasure, they kind of damn the whole ship. And so then they spend years, like, sailing around not really noticing, and when they do notice, they realize they have to uncurse themselves by putting all the treasure back. So they're on a mission to get the treasure back, to put it back in the chest. Now, there's a few people that have a few coins that are a bit troublesome, and that's kind of where the action comes in. They're trying to get the coins back off those people, and the blood that they need in order to fix the curse.
Yeah. Now... If you haven't heard this podcast before, what we do is we review a movie by asking 20 weird and wonderful questions about it. We start with 10 questions that can be applied to any film. We then move into 3 personal questions, and then we finally finish on a question that we threw out there to you guys, our wonderful, wonderful listeners, to answer for us. Typically, we do our scores beforehand, but we're not going to do that anymore. What we're going to do is, instead, I'm going to hit you guys with the scores of this film, and then we're going to go into our compliment sandwich. If we think this movie's over a 5,000, or if we think this is under a 5,000, we can give it a shit sandwich, which is one thing bad, one thing good, one thing bad. We'll see what these guys think, but we're going to give our scores at the end of that. So, IMDb have this 8 out of 10, Rotten Tomatoes at 79%. Jules, since you picked this film, why don't you go first? Why don't you give us your compliment or shit sandwich?
I'm going to give it a compliment sandwich because I think the action and the underlying sort of morals and stuff are really fun and easy to follow. Something I didn't like is there's like it's a little bit too simplified in some places, and I'm like, come on man, we've got brains. We can definitely follow if this gets a little more complicated. You don't need to over-explain everything to us. And then another compliment is, wow, the eye candy in this movie. Like, damn.
Sorry, are we talking about the action or are we talking about Some.
Like, literally the booties and the boobs in this movie.
Yeah, holy shit, man.
like
That
that
Jeffrey
ass.
Rush, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. And by booty, I mean all of that gold. No, I'm kidding.
I mean,
Yeah.
they all look super dirty, though, in the movie. So, I don't know if I'd agree with that.
Oh, really? You don't like it dirty? Well, noted.
Not that kind of dirty, no. Bloodshot eyes and grime all over themselves and...
It's funny, though, because the number of people that, like, instantly catapulted Jack Sparrow into being their number one sort of hottest crush. But that guy would have stunk. Fuck, he would have reeked of shit.
Yeah,
yeah.
with like a layer of like whatever disease that he's got that causes him to have like bad breath or something. Like,
Yeah.
nah,
Yeah, pretty much,
No
eh?
way.
The crutch of his pants would have crawled on its own accord. That's basically what I'm saying.
exactly.
Still would have. Definitely would have.
Stand by your values there, Jules. Stand by it, man. That's awesome. So what about a score out of 10,000 doubloons there, Jules? What would you give it?
I'd give it about 8,000 doubloons, I think.
Ooh.
I think 8,000's a fair mark.
Nice. Okay, Thomas, you're next. What do you got, bud?
I'm also going to give it a compliment sandwich because I do also think it's generally a pretty good film. I think the characters are quite vibrant and interesting. You know, Jack's quite interesting. Even Will's quite interesting. Barbossa's quite interesting. Norrington's quite interesting. You know, there's a lot of really exciting and cool characters, even though some of them might be quite minor. So I thought that was quite cool. Fairly controversial kind of opinion might be, I think Elizabeth's character is kind of ass. There's a lot of times where she is depicted as a strong female character, and that's great. That's awesome. Problem is, though, there's a couple of instances where she gives very specific naval knowledge. Like, you should tack it this way and do this so that we can outrun the ship. And I'm like, how the fuck do you know that? Like, you are a sheltered noblewoman who's literally been on a ship once, right? And that was 8 years ago. How the fuck do you know this very specific naval knowledge?
That's a valid point.
But the other good thing was the soundtrack, as is per, I can't remember his name now, but he's really famous. Hans Zimmer.
Yeah,
there
Hans
we go,
Zimmer,
got
yeah,
it.
yep.
Yeah, soundtrack, top notch.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. It's pretty bloody awesome. What about a score out of 10,000 there?
Yeah, let's say 8,001 doubloons, going with the Price is Right strategy. 8,001.
You don't get to buy it afterwards.
Oh, do not.
Yeah, I hate to break this to you. First good thing for me, yeah, I mean, you guys touched on it. The acting performances in this are pretty phenomenal. That being said, Orlando Bloom, I felt, was a little bit lacking, but aside from him...
It's not his best work.
It's not his best work, but at the same time, like, I'm still trying to stay within the good. Like, even the side characters, you see enough from them as characters to actually, you know, see where they're coming from and understand their motivations. The bad thing for me, there's way too much convenient shit happen in the space of, like, about half an hour at the start where, you know, like, it looks like it's all over, but then a cannonball comes through the wall, and oh, that's lucky, and then it looks like it's all over, but oh, another cannonball comes through the wall. Oh, and it looks like it's all over, and you get the point. There's just a little bit too much convenience, especially Captain Jack Sparrow escaping, and he's like, oh, you remember this is the day you almost caught me, and then he suddenly fucking Batmans his way out of the side of a harbour, and then he has 100 guys shoot at him, and at other people. That's the other thing I found kind of bad at it, is he's running along a bridge with just innocent civilians, while these fucking military dudes just open fire at this one pirate. Maybe not the best. And then final good thing for me, cinematography. It's just beautiful. It's well shot. The scenes and the settings and the like boats and everything like that, it's phenomenal. And even
Ships.
Ships, sorry.
Ships, not boats, the ships.
Look, even Jack says that once, okay?
Yes,
You can
it's
allow
true.
him one slip.
Yes, the ships are beautiful. But yeah, it's just like it's well put together, and you can see the money's gone into the production. And even now, 17 years on, it's like the CGI has still managed to hold up along with, you know, the use of practical effects. So that was something I liked, and I'm going to give it 8,003.
Wow.
Not 8,002. I'm going 8,003. I'm going to step it up. Just
That was something, actually, the CGI. There was only one time that I really noticed that it wasn't very, like, that it was kind of a bit
Yeah.
was when Jack's in prison and the guy reaches through the bars and, like, grabs his neck. You know, obviously they've got Jack's neck is very obvious, and then they've got his hand around his neck. Like, it was very obvious that they were not, you know, one was real and one wasn't.
Yeah.
But other than that, you couldn't, you know, the CGI really holds up, I feel, other than that very specific instance. So I think they did a really good job, considering, as you say, it's 17 years old. It's 2003. So
Exactly. Moves us over to question number 2, and Jules, you can start us off.
Question number 2. What character should have been replaced with a talking dog?
I had 2 slightly different answers for this. One was the dog, which I feel we were all thinking. Just don't even replace him, just make him talk. So the other one I thought was, I slightly cheated and I gave 2, which was Ragetti and Pintle, which if you don't know who those characters are because they're not really named in the film, that's the kind of short tubby guy and the guy with the wooden eye.
Oh, is that their name?
Yeah, that's their name. So Ragetti, I think, is the short tubby guy, and Pintle, I think, is the guy with the wooden eye.
Cute.
So I think replacing them with talking dogs would be quite funny.
Yeah.
Just like back chatting each other would be quite funny.
Yeah, I'm actually with you there, because the guy with the wooden eye is Gareth from the UK version of The Office. And
Yes.
I actually think he's quite funny and like quite talented as an actor. So this short tubby friend, that was the one for me. I just wanted to see them having full-blown arguments on a little boat to the point that his eye goes out and the dog fetches it and sort of hoiks it up, sort of thing. That would have been good for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
What about you, Jules?
Nice. Jack.
Really?
Really? the lead?
The monkey.
Oh!
Well done. Well played. Well played, Jules. Well played.
Gotcha.
Brad never would have got
That would
us like that.
certainly
Well
make
done,
it
Jules.
weird because he was jumping all over Barbossa's shoulder and stuff, right? So
I just think it would be fun because he still plays fetch. Like, he still goes and gets the coin and he does all of that kind of stuff. I just think it would be fun to have him.
Excellent.
But I want him to be like a Labrador or something, like a really excitable breed.
And he's like, yeah, Jack, good boy, Jack.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. Question number 3, what is it there, Thomas?
Question number 3, what deep philosophical debate arose in you during this film?
My one for me was just how close Jack and Elizabeth were to hooking up on that island. Because she looked well keen on him.
Yeah.
How much of that was played? Yeah.
Yeah, because I know she was trying to trick him into basically, blacking out drunk on the beach. But there was a little bit more of it that actually seemed like there maybe was a little bit of something going on.
And also, she's been super proper until that point, and then she's just like in her nightgown all over him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What about you, Jules?
I was really, while I watched this movie, I think a lot about this one question. Pirates or cowboys, what's cooler?
Do you want that from a historical perspective?
I don't know, maybe? Yeah. I still
they're
have
both fucking assholes.
Yeah, I still haven't really solved the puzzle in my head because while pirates are out on ships and stuff, cowboys can come home each night, so it might be kind of nicer to have a cowboy that you're dating.
True, but cowboys tend to be pretty fucking racist, right? So
yeah, historically, yes. Yeah.
Pirates are also extremely despicable people. The way that pirates are shown in this film, here we go, this is the historical accuracy coming out, is that it's very inaccurate because they're very bad people. This has shown them in a very romantic light. Typically, they are actually extremely terrible people, do very, very bad things, and have no redeeming qualities basically whatsoever.
So are you saying that you'd be for cowboys over pirates?
Probably not, no.
Yeah, see, they're the worst, but you still
I don't want to
them
say
better.
I am... Because the way I'm looking at this is, are you for torture or for racism? And I don't really want to say I'm for either of those things.
I feel like you're taking this too seriously. One comes with a ship, one comes with a horse, one comes with a cutlass, one comes with a gun. So if you take it for the very base values.
I do like the ship. I like the ship a lot.
Yeah, ships are good.
Yeah.
What about you, bud? What was your deep philosophical debate?
Mine was, what would have happened if they never lifted the curse? What would they look like throughout history? Because, of course, in theory, they're immortal, right? Barbossa actually says at the end of the film, he kind of references that they're both immortal, right? So, would they steal a battleship in World War II and become, pirates, ghost pirates with a battleship? Or would they become space pirate skeletons? When, humans go to space and, colonize the galaxy and stuff, do they steal a spaceship and become space skeleton pirates? Or
I'm sorry, what do you think the Bermuda Triangle is?
A myth that didn't actually happen, that a lot of people have conflated to be a real thing.
Yeah, it's where Captain Barbossa still sails the seven seas and he's taking down things all the time.
I think it's Carol
But
fucking
yeah.
Baskin. That's who I think it is. Shout out to anyone who's seen it. Fucking seen Tiger King or whatever his fucking name is.
Let's not get into
No, let's avoid that as much as possible. That moves us over to question number 4, which is the first of our Patreon questions. These are questions that are submitted to us by our dearest patrons that pay $5 a month. First of which comes from the amazing man that is Dave Baker. Dave has his own Patreon as well that you should check out, called patreon.com/yourfavorite. And on it, he posts a ton of content, video essays, and stuff like that. It's pretty awesome. What Dave would like to know from us is which 2 characters from this film would you guys want with you at your house party?
So I don't know their names because I didn't do any research.
Wow.
Best guest ever.
I just want to put it out there. As a history podcaster, I'm offended.
Hey, as someone who podcasts on history of New Zealand, I'm not.
Sorry, are we gonna get into this? Person who podcasts on the history. Are we gonna get into this? Is this what we're doing right now?
So the question again was, what 2 characters...
Anyway, so I don't know their names. I don't know their names because I didn't look them up, but I love the 2 that are guarding the interceptor at the beginning of the movie. You know, like the 2...
Oh, they do have names, but I don't remember what they are.
Yeah, I love those 2 because I like the way that they try and tell Jack that, like, he can't go on there, and then they have that whole debate about, like, what, you've seen a ship with sails as black as night, you know, like, and they're like, one of them's like a really good storyteller and the other one's like hilarious to kind of listen to how they respond to all of that. And so I think they'd be really fun to have at a party.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Thomas?
For me, it would probably be Jack and Gibbs, actually. Because I like the banter between them. I think Gibbs is a real fucking bro, right? Like, he's always got Jack's back and stuff, and I mean, Jack is, like, pretty self-explanatory, right? He's always fucking pissed. Always trying to, like, do something ridiculous. Yeah. He's always trying to impress everyone who's around him. I think Gibbs would also have some great stories as well. Gibbs seems to be also always kind of telling a real good story. So I feel like Gibbs would be in the corner. Jack is in, like, trying to, like, do something real stupid and impress everyone. Yeah. Is, I feel, what that would look like.
I debated over Jack because, you know, he's going to show up there, he's going to be center of attention. People are going to go, oh, who's your awesome friend? And then by the end of the night, they're going to go, your fucking awesome friend took all our handbags and is fucked off.
Yeah, that's true. That's the downside.
And by the way, he's trying to fuck your missus outside in the bushes. So that was my that was my problem with him. So,
and there's some girl crying in the corner about how it's not her. So the party's ruined now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, what would be even better than that? Everybody loves it when you show up at a party with like 2 really hot chicks on your arm. So that's why I went with Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom. I reckon you'd just be rolling it. Just like, look at these ladies, man. These are the prettiest ladies you ever seen. But no, scrap Orlando Bloom. I'll take Zoe Saldana. Like, even the small part that she's in here, she's kind of like, she's got a story, man. She's had a boat taken by Jack. Yeah. You know, she's a little bit sort of pensive, a little bit mad, but we obviously see Elizabeth Swan get down on the rum and know how to party. I reckon Zoe Saldana would know how to party as well. So yeah, those are the 2 I would have gone with.
Absolutely.
Question number 5 is also a Patreon question. This question comes courtesy of the awesome man that is Julio of the Contrarians podcast in which they rage against Rotten Tomatoes the machine. So they take a film that's universally beloved and say why it's shit, and then offer their like honest opinion in the second half of the podcast. Alternatively, they take a podcast that's spoiler reviewed and go to bat for why it's an awesome film. Recently, they did Street Fighter, and my God, I can't believe how well they lie. But what?
Wait, Street Fighter the movie?
Yeah, Street Fighter the movie. They argue why it was good. It was interesting.
Good God.
Yeah, it was a stretch. Wow. But good on you, boys. What would they like to know there, Jules?
Okay, then.
What's your most controversial opinion about this film?
Oh, Thomas is taking a drink before he answers. This is going to be fun.
My answer to what my controversial opinion was is that this isn't the only good film in the franchise.
Oh!
I knew this. This is why it's question number 5 is why it's controversial.
Film nerd rage intensifies.
Yeah, 2 and 3 are also pretty good. You know, although 1 is probably the best out there, I do think that there is some great shit in 2 and 3. 5 and 6 are bollocks and they suck dick. I will absolutely agree with that.
Have you got their phone number?
But 2 and 3, which kind of fill out the trilogy, I actually think they're pretty good overall. Okay. I at least think that they are better than average.
Okay, interesting.
I can feel you judging me from here.
Oh, only internally, but yeah. Only internally at the moment. No, it's not that I think they're bad films. It's just because I know the history of this film. It was such a fluke in so many ways. It's a film based on a theme park ride. Johnny Depp had never been a massive box office draw actor. Keira Knightley at that point had only done Bend It Like Beckham. None of these guys in this film were massive film stars or anything like that. Gore Verbinski, he directed quite a few well-received films and stuff like that. And it just came out of nowhere. And unfortunately, when you set such a high bar in your first film, it's hard not to watch the subsequent films and be like, they're just doing the same shit again. Or if they try and reinvent something, and yes, I'm having a dig at all you Star Wars nerds out there. If they try and reinvent something, you universally hate it because it's like, this isn't as good as the first one. So my controversial opinion, it's not really that controversial because this film is quite well redeemable and it's got so many good things about it. The thing that I'm going to go out on a limb and say is that, yes, everybody loved Johnny Depp. They loved his Keith Richards imitation. They thought it was phenomenal. He got nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars and got nominated for a ton of other awards. For me, Jeffrey Rush is actually way more phenomenal in this film because he bounces between being terrifying and charming. And Jack Sparrow is very much one-dimensional. He is a drunk arsehole who's looking out for himself, and that's all it is. But when you're actually bouncing between a range of emotions throughout the entirety of a film, as well as giving this film a really awesome villain, because we've got a later question of what's your top 3 Johnny Depp films, and when I looked at Johnny Depp's filmography, there's a lot of shit films where Johnny Depp is the best thing in it, and this had that potential to be a great Johnny Depp performance in a shit film, but I think Jeffrey Rush actually elevates this a little bit more, and I think gives a little bit more than Johnny Depp. I know everyone loves him, and maybe it's just souring on him because he's in so many of the other films. You kind of get tired of his shit over and over and over again. But yeah, that's my opinion. What do you got, Jules?
I've kind of got 2, and I couldn't decide between them, so I'm just going to say them both.
At the same time?
Yeah, kind of. Commodore Norrington really isn't that bad, and I probably would have married him, given the circumstances.
Yes! Ooh. Yes! You go, girl. I'm with you right there. Fuck yes!
Yep, so that's one of them. I just think he was very honourable, very good man. And
there is nothing wrong with him. He's got
not
a
that
great
bad
job,
looking,
great career. He looks good. There is absolutely fucking nothing wrong with marrying that guy.
His future fiance disappears. He doesn't bother going look for her. Yeah, he's awesome, man. He's cool.
Yeah, he was practical. Will comes up to him and he's like, "We need to go do this." And Norrington is like, "I'm trying to do this, but we can't just send the fleet after them. We gotta fucking think about this."
And he's not actually wrong, by the way. It wasn't that he wasn't looking for her. He just wasn't looking for her that second out on a boat in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't. Yeah. Anyway, my second one though kind of null and voids that. I think the whole movie could have been done without her. If you just had Will be rescued on the boat, Will ends up in the town, they come looking for the thing because of Will. Basically, it was the same movie.
Yeah,
they just wouldn't have had the eye candy.
She's the kind of shoehorned romantic interest, right? Is that what you're going for there?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't think. I mean, I just don't think it would have lost a lot.
I can see that.
All I'm going to say is I'm biting my tongue for a later question, Jules. So, yeah.
Okay.
You have my full support, my unwavering support on that one. That's all I'm going to say at this point in time.
Okay.
The next question is courtesy of the amazing woman that is Emily Higgins, who was most recently on our American Psycho episode. And we've got something special that we're doing with Emily that's coming up very soon. And that sounds incredibly pornographic, but it's not.
I'll decide that. Thank you very much.
I am going red, but that's the alcohol singing to my little cheeks. Emily's podcast is a Tasteless Podcast, a podcast in which she sort of compares 2 films. One film that is universally beloved, well received, has a fairly awesome box office, and goes to say why it's fine, or maybe it's shit, and, maybe it's overrated. And then she sort of plugs for a film that is, in her opinion, completely underrated, a hidden gem. Quite often they're not, but we still love her anyway. And what would Emily like to know there, Thomas?
Which side character would make for the best spin-off movie?
This one for me was easy. We've mentioned him already, and that was Gibbs. I mean, we see him at the start of the film, and he's escorting the swans out to govern the island. And the next time we see him, he's blackout drunk with a pair of pigs. And I mean literal pigs. He's on Tortuga, parting his fucking tits off with a pair of pigs. Now, that would have been one hell of an unraveling of a movie to go from the height of escorting a governor to being drunk with a pair of pigs.
I mean, it's quite obvious how it happened, though. He was swinging rum on the ship with the governor.
It's true. It's true.
That's true. I did have another answer for this, actually. Mr. Cotton, I thought would be pretty funny.
And how he lost his tongue.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
And how he taught the parrot to talk.
Yeah, kind of like the story of how he lost his tongue and how he taught the parrot to talk, I thought would be quite a funny spin-off movie as
Mr.
well.
Cotton's parrot.
Yeah.
I think you're actually onto something there, man. It'd be an ultimate, like, underdog story, eh? Starts off with him, like, just going about his life. He's a hardworking guy, loses his tongue, you know, says some shit about the wrong person or whatever, and then just teaches a parrot how to talk. Holy fuck. This is why I don't write movies.
I think that would be really good. I think Gibbs is like he's the Tyrion Lannister. He's the obvious choice here. I think Cotton is that's where the money is made.
Yeah.
Cotton is where the money is going to be made. That's where you don't think.
I have another avenue for you.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I really thought about this in terms of, like, what might make money. You know, and there are certain types of movies that, like, just everybody loves. Animal movies. So I think what we need to do is make a whole side thing about the dog with the keys, where he goes on those adventures and how he gets to, because you see him again in later series movies and he's got the keys and he's somewhere else. How is he traveling? Like, which boat is he going on? Like, how has he still got these keys? What are these keys even for? Like, are they actually for the cells that he's in? Because you find out later the keys are for something completely different. So, like, what's the story there?
He's like fucking Where's Wally or something, eh? He's just popping up here, there, and everywhere with a set of keys. Fun bit of nerdy trivia, but on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, you go past a set of pirates inside a cell begging the dog for the keys. And hence why the line in the movie, you guys are going to be begging him forever, because that's effectively what they are on the ride. They're just perpetually begging this dog for keys that they never get. Nerd! Final one of our Patreon questions, and this question comes courtesy of Dan Brennick of the Netflix and Swill podcast, the only Netflix podcast that I listen to. So it's the best one. And so, yeah, it's basically covers all things Netflix, like new movies, TV shows, trailers, upcoming news and stuff like that. It's pretty fucking awesome. And we love this question, Dan. Well, Dan submitted two to us. The one is way too serious for such a non-serious movie. So what Dan would like to know is from us guys is where would we have inserted Blink-182's masterpiece, All the Small Things, into
all
the
the small things, truth blinks. I love it.
I will admit that, showing my age here, I did have to go and look that up to remember what that song was.
Oh, cut it out.
Jules, do you have Brad's number? Can we get him on? Is he? Let's just rope him in at question number 7 and see how he gets on.
Yeah. So I think there's a logical line to enter this directly after, and it's where Jack and I've already forgotten his fucking name, Bill Turner, his son, are in the blacksmith, and he's talking about how unless you found that lady and you are unable to otherwise woo such trumpet, you're not a eunuch, are you? And then I think it'd be perfect to just be like, all the small things.
Excellent.
I guess I went kind of in the opposite direction, and that I would have put it in the Tortuga scene.
Yes.
Yeah, where they go to Tortuga and there's that kind of whole, it's not quite a montage, but it's, they're showing all the people getting drunk and fist fighting and shit and whatever else.
When he's like, keep an eye out.
Yeah, and they're like, he gets slapped a couple of times by what I presume was prostitutes.
You don't know that. Could have been his girlfriends.
That's why I said what I presume was prostitutes.
Why do you presume they're prostitutes straight away?
You don't know, bro. They could have been his serious overnight girlfriends.
I mean, they could have been. I mean, I'm not saying that they weren't, but...
Serious overnight girlfriends. I've never heard that
listeners.
term before.
That's a new one for me.
I miss having serious overnight girlfriends.
But yeah, that's where I put it, in the Tortuga scene. But it's kind of funny because it doesn't quite
it fucking fits if you turn it into an Irish jig and then put it in that scene. That was what I want. That's what I wanted to have. It was all the small things as an Irish jig inserted into that scene. Dan, I know you wanted the verbatim version of it and you told me that we can't stick this in the rubbish bin or make modifications, but sorry, Dan. We need to turn this into an Irish jig. We need to have them playing while the serious overnight girlfriends dance around Jack, slapping him and all that sort of shit. That's where we need it.
That is what I want.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, moves us over to fan favourite question number 8. What is it there, Jules?
What quote from this film would be the worst to hear straight after you finish having sex?
Sorry, before we answer this question, I just want to let everyone know I had the most fun with this question.
Excellent.
I
This is really
I have like 8 answers,
Same.
and I'm ready to like strike them off as you guys say yours.
I love this just so much.
You go, man. You're the first one to answer it.
Oh, fuck. All right. Mine was, if you're waiting for the opportune moment, that was it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I feel like was the obvious answer,
Yeah.
but yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Sweet.
I like how there's multiple answers to this.
What we'll do is we'll
There's
do
a-
a round robin. If you've got other ones, we'll just start chipping them in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So my first one I'm going to go with is put it away, son. It's not worth you getting beat again.
I've got, I do that quite a lot, yet people are always surprised.
That's a good one. My next one was, you're supposed to be dead.
Which kind of fits with my one where I said, come back, I didn't mean it.
My final one was, every decision you've made has only brought us from bad to worse.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay, so, this one is like after you finish having sex, but maybe like you haven't finished having sex because they say, this shot is not meant for you.
Holy shit.
That's brilliant. Fuck, that's an awesome one.
Oh my god.
I love that question.
same.
Never stop doing that
God.
question.
No, that one is a permanent rotation, that one.
I'm feeling quite sated actually.
Oh my god.
I think we can end it there. Thanks everyone for listening. I don't think we can beat that.
Christ almighty.
Oh.
Thanks for the answer there, guys. That moves us over to question number 9. What is it there, Thomas?
How long would you survive in this movie's world?
Yes, this question makes a triumphant return. I studied map making at university, so I figured that's probably what I would be. Just some sort of map maker that's just chilling out.
You mean cartography?
Cartography, yes. I don't want to get too nerdy, but yeah, that's it. I would have been chilling out, would have been hanging out in the town, doing whatever. And then I reckon as soon as the pirates show up, I would have been one of those guys that comically took a cannonball to the head or something like that. You know what I mean? I'd just be sitting there at my desk, just like, oh, fucking goddamn governor's asked me to plot out this fucking bullshit again. And just boom, smoked by a cannonball. That would be the end of me. So as soon as the pirates showed up, I would have been out.
There's a character for that. In the second and third film. I think in the second film, he's like doing the map on the wall. So that guy, but like
I could have been that guy.
He doesn't die in the end.
There we
He's
go.
that
I could have
guy.
made it through the sequels, or 2 of the sequels.
Exactly.
As a female, I mean, my chances aren't great. And not from a wealthy family, again, my chances aren't great. So I'm pretty good with corsets, though, so I'm thinking that I'd probably end up either in the whorehouse or as a seamstress. So, maybe I'd actually make it, because there's a need for both of those things. So, I am actually okay with swords, too. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I'd end up with some kind of, like, with Anna Marie on her ship. She'd...
Yay! There we go.
Yeah, she'd take me on because, like, female captain would take female sailors, so...
That's a good one. That's cool.
Yeah.
What about you, Thomas?
Yeah.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm a history podcaster. I may have mentioned it once or twice. So, roughly in the 18th century, which is when this movie took place, most societies at this point were still quite agrarian, meaning that most of the population was still quite farm-based. Lots of peasants. So statistically speaking, most people would have been peasants working the land on farms. So I'd probably be a peasant, and peasants were quite, filled with hard labour, so I'd probably be dead by the age of 40.
Yeah.
Excellent. And that moves us down to the last of questions that can be applied to any film. Which character from this film is actually kind of an arsehole, now that you think about it?
I was kind of in two minds because there's two of them in my head that are actually kind of arseholes because they're a little bit selfish and a little bit wrapped up in their own what they've got going on and not really focused on what it costs other people to help them or to whatever. And that's both Will and Elizabeth.
Ooh.
Because if you think about it, like Elizabeth like sends off the governor's freaking army or whatever to go save her mate. You know, like these kinds of things. She's like super selfish. She doesn't take no for an answer. She's like super demanding. She's like quintessential rich girl bitch, you know? Like always gets her way and stuff. So she's kind of an asshole.
What about you, Thomas? Who'd you have?
I said maybe Cotton. Because, like, he teaches the parrot to just say, like, very generic phrases. Gibbs obviously figures out how to interpret what the parrot says. But the parrot doesn't really say anything, you know, yes, no, or anything like that. So I think, like, maybe Cotton, like, maybe not being able to actually teach the parrot how to say proper things. But then again, we don't know what Cotton thinks because he can't say anything.
There is that moment, right, where the parrot's like, "Arr!" and it says something, and then everybody rushes off to do something, and then Cotton goes, like, oh, what's happening? And he just kind of runs off to follow everybody. It did, like, that bit cracks me up so much because I'm like, has he got any idea?
You don't know. He might be a bit of a dickhead.
I'm with you, Jules. I actually had Elizabeth Swann as well. The reason being is she finds this guy on this raft, discovers he's a pirate, and then takes the only thing of any position, like of any value whatsoever from him, robs him, never tells him about it, keeps it to herself.
That's also a good point.
Yeah, later reveals it to him, and like...
And it's gold, right? So he could have, like, cashed that in to, like, start his life.
Exactly, and instead he's now some indebted servitude to some sword maker, you know, constantly pining for her, and she knows that. She fucking knows that he's in love with her.
Of course she knows it.
She even, like, and she's got, like, a very sort of privileged position where she could just, you know, skirt authority and not marry the Commodore or all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
She could choose that. She could actually be in love with this guy.
She throws a tantrum because he doesn't use her name, and she actually sulks off. Like... Exactly,
yeah. And that moves over to our personal questions. Jules, you get to lead us off this week. What do you got there?
Okay, so if you hadn't been able to test food, if you hadn't been able to taste food, what would you eat as your first thing, like gaining taste buds again?
Definitely steak and rum, given that that's pretty much the course for the day out and for these guys. That being said, you know, you'd just be an absolute lightweight. Because you've never been able to taste it, absorb it, have it go through your system, you'd probably have one rum and be like, this is the fucking...
That's actually true. I actually answered this question when I was quite hungry at the time. And I was really feeling mac and cheese. So that's what I answered, was mac and cheese, which I've subsequently gone out and got some macaroni pasta. Is mac and cheese sounding weird to anyone else? Because I've said mac and cheese a lot. Because I fucking love mac and cheese.
I would have strawberries and whiskey.
Good girl.
And it would have to be something like Lefroy or Ardbeg.
Those are some weird strawberries.
No, whiskey.
Really? Excellent. What do you got there next, Jules?
Every time Jack looks off, like, randomly into the distance, what do we think he's staring at?
Before we started recording, I mentioned that at one point I was quite drunk and wasn't able to see very easily, which is currently the case now. And that's kind of what I went with, was I don't think he's looking into the distance. I think he's trying to see what's in front of him, but he's too drunk and his vision is quite blurry.
Yeah, I actually thought something similar. I thought, you know, maybe he's got double vision and all that sort of stuff. That's what I was thinking. But then as I started thinking more into it, I was like, I was picturing where he is on the boat. He's sort of looking out into the sunset. We've got this like nice close-up of his face. So that made me realise I know exactly what he's looking at. He's looking at a camera crew, a soundstage, a director.
That's true, yeah.
A boom guy. That's exactly what he's looking at.
Yeah, it's true.
Cool. If you could be stealing, like, anything as a pirate, what booty are you stealing and saving for your pirate retirement?
Oh, definitely young girls' hearts.
like separate from their chests, or like
I've got no idea what the hell it means.
just like carving them out and putting them into bottles with formaldehyde and stuff, and just like, that's going to be great
Jules,
later.
what's that song? Don't go around stealing young girls' hearts. What the hell fucking song is that from?
Oh, yes.
Billie Jean. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm just taking the piss out of the song Billie Jean. My actual answer would have been probably, I'm going to go real nerdy. I'm going to go with Action Comics #1, which was the debut of Superman. You used to be able to buy these for about 150 to 400 grand back in like the late 90s, and now they're selling for 2 to 3 million. So,
Yeah.
Good lord!
yeah. Something so small sells for so much. And the reason why I bring this up is the patron saint of our podcast is Nicolas Cage. And Nicolas Cage actually owned one of the best versions of Action Comics and then had it stolen and then later found it 10 years later. So, yeah. His copy is apparently like one of the best copies in existence. So something like that. Something like that would only ever go up in value because, similar to me, there's a ton of nerds out there that just love that shit and will pay through the nose. I'll never be able to afford one, so why not fucking steal one? There we go.
Fair enough.
Absolutely. I know we're not meant to be talking about this, but my joke answer was toilet paper.
Very topical.
But for real, which is what I written down, was art is usually a pretty good answer. Fun fact, the Mona Lisa is only famous because it got stolen about 100 years ago. It wasn't actually very famous before that. So,
Oh, shit. Didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, you fucking learned something on a movie podcast.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up our show. That moves me over to my personal questions, and I thought this through, and I've got an answer, but I'll see what you guys think. Would you guys rather go out pirating for 2 weeks or spend 2 weeks in Tortuga, which we see is pretty much Las Vegas? It's pretty much Hamilton on a Saturday night. It's just an absolute shithole that's partying like the world's about to end tomorrow. It's pretty damn awesome. What do you guys reckon? Where would you rather spend 2 weeks?
I would probably get shot in Tortuga. So I decided that I would rather go pirating. Mainly because I actually do love sailing. So I've been out on boats before and stuff, and I actually really enjoy the open ocean. So that would be fun. The whole drinking rum on a boat would be fun. Swinging around, spending time climbing up into crow's nests and stuff. I think that would be amazing. Great fun. And then like getting to swing a sword and be like, aha! Avast me hearties, and all of that kind of stuff would be fun. So yeah, pirating.
What about you, Thomas?
I'm about to destroy this whole man's career. Pirating actually wasn't that exciting most of the time. If you've ever watched this, the program Black Sails, that is probably more accurate depiction of what pirating was. And what I mean by that is that pirating a lot of the time was about when you raised the black flag. Pirates tended to depict themselves as either Spanish or British or sometimes Dutch vessels, but would then raise the black flag to indicate that actually they were pirates and that probably the vessel should surrender. So a lot of the time it was about actually raising the black flag at the correct time to get the vessel to surrender, because if you raise the black flag too close, then they would actually go, actually, we're going to fight to the death for this. But if you raised it too early, they would just try to run. So, actually, pirating was pretty fucking boring most of the time. So, my answer would be, it's got to be Tortuga. Prostitutes, drink, just partying all the time. Sounds fucking great.
The correct answer was pirating. Tortuga, you'd die from liver failure within a week, I reckon.
That's also probably true.
Next question. As I mentioned at the start of the podcast, this movie was based on a theme park ride. So I want to know from you guys, what other generic theme park ride could you guys take and launch a movie franchise from?
I really struggled with this question because I wasn't really sure. But I said the log flume.
Ooh.
Some sort of, make it some sort of Louisiana river raft thing. But beyond that, I'm not really sure.
Is as good an answer as any. This is what I threw it out there for you guys. What about you, Jules?
I had the merry-go-round just because I liked it. And then I decided that the series would potentially be about a cursed horse on the merry-go-round, that you ride it and be aware of, what's going to happen to you. It's like it's like a curse, and then you have to actually get back on the horse and ride it backwards, which involves you like sneaking back into the fairground and like having to undo whatever damage you've done to your life by rewinding. And that's actually quite hard to do. So yeah, and it's only one horse on the whole carousel, so everybody else rides fine, but like there's just like one random person who's like fucked for the rest of their life, and they have no idea why. And it's all randomly fucked. Like, you know, like sometimes it's like they lose their job and like they lose their girlfriend and stuff. They just end up in a shit life. And the other times it's like they're walking out of the theme park and get hit by a bus like straight away. Like it's all randomly kind of, you don't know what's going to happen.
That definitely sounds like a fun Disney franchise.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking more like, what's that movie? Final Destination-y.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
That's good. Yeah, that turned itself into a franchise. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, something like that.
My final question is, well, I was going to basically say, like, which pirate do you reckon has got an STD? But probably all of them do. So I want to know from you guys, which pirate probably has the least amount of STDs?
I reckon it's the one whose eye keeps rolling out.
Oh, yeah.
Pinto.
Yeah. Not because, like, I don't think he's, like, sleeping with people, but I think, like, if he's sleeping with someone, it's probably, like, not actually a prostitute. It's probably some little sweetheart who's, like, taken a shining to him, you know? But I don't think that he's not diseased because his eye rolls in enough shit on a dick regularly that he's, like, got stuff. It's just not STDs. It's, like, all sorts of bacterial infections and, you know, like, he gets, like, gastro on the regular.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
like
COVID-19 can last on a surface for more than 3 days.
Hey, we're not supposed to be talking
about it.
I said, this is going to be controversial, but I said Will Turner, because does that guy look like he fucks? Like, he
clearly fucks Elizabeth.
But he doesn't, though. At least at the kind of until the end of the film, he's definitely a virgin.
Yeah. And that takes us down to Thomas's questions. What do you got there, bud?
Question 17 was, which pirate captain, historical or fictional, would you like to serve under?
Ching Shi or Ching Yusao. Oh, my pronunciation is shit.
Yep.
So she was like a very famous pirate who basically took over when her husband died. At some point, she actually married her adopted son, which is a little bit weird. But at some point, she controlled more than 1,500 ships. She had 80,000 men. She was like an incredible boss lady. Because here's the thing. When I started going through all these pirates, all of them was like, oh, raided 40 ships in 1 year and then died. Oh, it was like raided 400 ships and then died. I was like, man, all these people are ending up with shitty fates. Whereas this woman actually negotiated her surrender with the Chinese government, and basically 150 of her men went off and were executed or whatever, or, you know, put into jail. 17,000 something men became part of the military. So they actually managed to keep a job and keep gainfully employed. And so that would be for me, man. I'd just be hanging out in the background. Would have caused too much of a ruckus. Would have caused too much of, you know, like a scene or anything like that. Just roll my way through and, you know, get out at the other end.
Oh my god. I just want to say, Sam, I have such a fucking boner right now because you actually did your research, and that all of that is actually true, and that's so fucking good. Like, that's actually what happened.
We've broken Thomas again.
Holy fucking shit!
We've actually broken it.
We've broken the history nerd. That's great.
Oh, that's
So what about you, Jules?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want to go next? Because it looks like you've already blown, but, you know.
Oh, man, I'm done. I'm done.
I said, with fuck all homework being done, which is pretty in keeping with me, Captain Shakespeare from Stardust. A book originally by Neil Gaiman, before it was the movie. And Captain Shakespeare is kind of this amazing captain who just really gives a crap about his crew and the people around him, but actually keeps his crew gainfully employed, sailing through the skies and capturing lightning in bottles and selling that, which is insane. So yeah, Captain Shakespeare. He seems like a good dude.
Yeah. All right, what's your next question there, Thomas?
My next question is, if you were a cursed pirate captain, what would your cursed/demon crew be?
This one was easy for me. I like hanging out with a bunch of women. Oh, that sounds so creepy when I say that. I like hanging out with a bunch of women. I also don't like getting my hands dirty, so the perfect one for me would be a bunch of sirens from Greek mythology who used to lure sailors and boats.
Screw you, you stole my shit.
Yes! Excellent! That's the other thing. I love watching a guy think with his dick and go down in flames monumentally. And again, don't have to do jack shit, just sailing around, perch myself up against some rocks. There you go, ladies. Cool. Sing their song, crashes, we take all this shit, we fuck off again. It's like, it's perfect. Sorry, Jules. Sorry to take your answer, by the way.
It's fine. It's fine. I'll just have a crew of my TTRPG actual play podcasting family. So just, have all of them on the crew with me, and we can just live out our dreams of sailing the seas and actual play for reality.
Are you saying that Brad's cursed?
Yeah, Brad's cursed. Oliver's cursed. Yeah, now our new friend Jules Daniel, the other Jules, we call them JD, just so we don't get confused, or Jules Prime. But then I've got also a bunch of people that I play with off podcasting. My very, very special first ever my own campaign crew, and I love them all very dearly. Like Bree and Simon and Devin and Millie and Erica and Indy, I love you all so much. So, they would all be on my ship with me as well.
Excellent.
And my final question was, if you had Jack's compass, which it points to whatever you desire most, what would it point most often to?
Sometimes the easiest answer is the best answer. It would be the nearest KFC. That's...
Sam, I just suddenly got an urge to marry you.
Oh no!
It is what it is, Jules. Can't help it. But yeah, that's where my compass would point. What about you, Jules? Where would your compass point?
Well, I mean, if it's not KFC, because it would be right up there. I actually wrote down, when I wrote the answer to this question, I went sweets, chocolate, takeaways, and bacon.
Yes.
So that's my answer. But if I'd gone more specific on takeaways, it definitely would have been KFC, and then maybe Wendy's, and then Burger King, and then McDonald's. And then if it's not food, it would be high heels and fancy clothing. I am pretty addicted to that kind of thing.
And that takes us down to the final question, which was a listener question that we threw out there to you guys, our dear listeners, to answer for us. Before we get into your guys' answers, we're going to answer them ourselves and then judge you guys accordingly. So the listener question this week was, give us your top 3 Johnny Depp films. And we'll start with you, Jules. What are your top 3 Johnny Depp films? So, I mean, it's really controversial, I think, in terms of what I think is probably the best of his films. But, I'm going to go with Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah. And then Pirates of the Caribbean. And then maybe just for something different, Pirates of the Caribbean. Really? Yeah, I'm going to go 1, 2, and 3. Wow. Oh, no. That is controversial. Yeah, I know, because there's actually a lot of good movies that he did out there. Edward Scissorhands actually comes up in my brain as a really great performance from him, for instance. But I liked him in this role the most. Yeah. I liked him. In a lot of his movies, I feel like I didn't really like him. He was kind of this weird sort of crazy person that I wasn't really supposed to like. I was sort of supposed to like or feel sorry for or whatever. But, I really liked him in these movies, so... For me, he's similar to, Tom Cruise or Nicolas Cage, where he's kind of ethereal and he's not really human. There's something just slightly odd about him that if it came out in the news, oh, by the way, Johnny Depp is actually a lizard person walking around in human skin, you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. What about you, Thomas? What's your top 3?
If I'm honest, I'm currently Googling what the fuck he's been in right now. I liked him in 21 Jump Street, the one version with Channing Tatum and that other guy that I don't remember his
Jonah
name.
Hill, yeah.
Yeah, that one. That was pretty funny, but he was in there for 3 minutes. He was good in Pirates of the Caribbean, as has been mentioned previously. Oh, he was good in Public Enemies.
Yes.
I have seen Public Enemies. He was quite good in that as well, as John Dillinger. So maybe let's say Pirates of the Caribbean and Public Enemies. And maybe Fantastic Beasts, although I didn't like him in Fantastic Beasts that much.
Oh my god, I just forgot about one, and I'm really sad about it. Can I change my answer?
Yeah, we can start this over again, yeah.
Okay, no. Don't start it over. I just want to go 1, 2, and then Sleepy Hollow.
Oh.
Sleepy Hollow is quite good.
Yeah.
I also quite like The Tourist as well.
Eesh. Oh, that movie sucked.
I mean, in fairness, Johnny Depp has not been in many good movies.
As I said earlier, he's often like the best thing in a very shitty film.
Exactly.
Yeah, so thanks, Livestream, for the cure, for reminding me about Sleepy Hollow. You're right. I was wrong. You are right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I would put Pirates at number 3. I would have Ed Wood as number 2. I really liked that film from 1990. A collaboration he did with Tim Burton, who obviously they did Edward Scissorhands, which is also a pretty good film. Tossing up for number 1, but I really love Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. That is like the ultimate sort of drug-fueled rampage, and I was very much a fan of Hunter S. Thompson back in my young and impressionable days. So yeah, that'll be my top 3. Throw it out there to you guys, our wonderful listeners, to answer this question for us. We're going to start off with Steve from Everything I Learnt from Movies podcast. Hey Steve, how's it going? He said Fear and Loathing Las Vegas, my man, Edward Scissorhands, and The Astronaut's Wife. Astronaut's Wife is fucking bizarre. Basically, Johnny Depp goes as an astronaut, goes to space, comes back, and he's just insane. That's basically the plot of the movie.
Oh.
FP went with Blow. Oh, that's a good film. Donnie Brasco and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. He also said shout out to The Ninth Gate. Paul from the Countdown podcast, which is another awesome podcast you guys should all listen to. Went with Rango, Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, and then A Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh, shit, I forgot about Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, yeah.
Very young Johnny D.
Yeah.
Anisha went with Sweeney Todd, Rango, and Blow. Nick from Epic Film Guys, aka Livestream for the Cure, went with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, and Sleepy Hollow. Great picks there, Nick. Gidget Von LaRue went with Ed Wood, Blow, and Edward Scissorhands. LJ Human went with Nightmare on Elm Street, Donnie Brasco, and The Lone Ranger. Drew from the Real Feels podcast went with Secret Window, Sweeney Todd, and Pirates of the Caribbean. This one. Honourable mentions to From Hell, Sleepy Hollow, and Mordecai. Mordecai sucks, Drew. I'm sorry, man. I tried to check it out. It's rubbish.
Yeah, fuck me. It is terrible.
Good on you for liking something that you like, Drew. The Movie Journey podcast, Hendo from that went with Donnie Brasco, Curse of the Black Pearl, and Platoon. Fuck Platoon. God damn it.
Oh, he was in Platoon,
yes,
wasn't he?
He was. He was a side character. Whoa.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Geek Elite Media, Mitch from that podcast went with Nick of Time, From Hell, and Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. Good work there, Mitch. Dan is Not the Problem went with Benny and June, Ed Wood, and Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Oh, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. That's a good shout as well, Dan.
Oh, that's true.
Honourable mention to Rango. Autistic Nick went with Pistol and Boo Get Smuggled into Australia. The very famous story about how Johnny Depp smuggled a couple of dogs into Aussie and then got caught by customs. He also went with What's Eating Gilbert Grape. That's a great film. Crybaby and Blow. Please watch this movie podcast. Went with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Platoon, and Edward Scissorhands. Mike LA went with Ed Wood, Blow, Donnie Brasco. Scared Shirtless podcast went with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Finding Neverland, and From How. Finding Neverland I never really got down on. Chris went with Sleepy Hollow, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Sweeney Todd. Paul went with Edward Scissorhands, Sleepy Hollow, and this film, Pirates of the Caribbean. Coronavirus, oh, you're the man, bro. Went with Donnie Brasco, Edward Scissorhands, and Fear and Loathing. That's the correct answers there, Case. Duty from Shaken Not Nerd, that was on recently for Point Break, went with Edward Scissorhands. Tusk, oh, fuck, come on, bro. And the Pirates film. Tusk is horrendous. Tusk is goddamn dreadful. He's good in it, Duty. I'll give you that. But come on, bro. That film is just unbelievably bad. The Debauched 2 went with Fear and Loathing. Dead Man and What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Turbo FC3S went with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Nightmare on Elm Street, Edward Scissorhands. Cat also went with Edward Scissorhands. Benny and June and What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Zach Dillon went with Sleepy Hollow, Edward Scissorhands, and this one, the original Pirates. Abigail Noel went with Pirates of the Caribbean. This one, Finding Neverland and Sleepy Hollow. Chauncey Talese went with Edward, Sleepy Hollow, Scissorhands, and Nick went with From Hell, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Black Pearl, and Blow. So, yeah, a lot of Scissorhands love, eh? A lot of Scissorhands love.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm mildly surprised that actually no one mentioned Murder on the Orient Express.
There's a good reason for that.
He was also in that as well, but most people don't remember because he was in it for like 5 seconds because he was the guy who got murdered. And that's actually a pretty good movie.
Really?
At least in my opinion, I thought it was quite good. I thought it was quite good.
I'm one of those dickheads who's like, the original is amazing, and then I tried to watch that and I was like, I can't do this.
I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
You stand by your opinion, no matter how wrong it is. You just stand by it. That's cool.
Thanks. Thanks for your support, Sam.
No probs. Anywho, that takes us down to the end, and I would like to thank these guys for joining us. Now, obviously, these guys both have podcasts, one of which is mentioned several times throughout this podcast. He does a history podcast. So, Thomas, we'll start off with you.
Excuse me.
Why don't you tell us all about it? Why don't you tell us about your wonderful show that we listen to? And, yeah, it's great. So tell us all about it, bud.
I do a very serious podcast that is nothing like this. I actually talk about the history of Aotearoa, New Zealand. So I do a chronological history podcast of New Zealand, starting from before when people arrived in New Zealand all the way up to roughly 2000. But we haven't got that far yet. Actually, where we're up to at the moment is pre-European Māori society. So we're talking about things like carving, and we're talking about things like weaving and societal structure. And we're soon going to be talking about things like music and musical instruments and that kind of stuff. And all sorts of other things. And of course, James Cook's going to turn up and we're going to have to deal with Europeans and all that kind of stuff. So I actually do a very serious podcast, which might surprise a lot of people. Wow, okay then. Anyway, Jules, what do you do with most of your time?
Yeah, cheers for that, Thomas. What about you, Jules?
I am part of Fate of Eisen's actual play, but I actually have my own podcast called Jules from NZ, where I kind of tell you a little about what it's like to live here in New Zealand current day, tell you a little bit about the culture of where things came from, give you a little bit of current news about what's happening over here, and actually sort of talk about me and my life as well, because it is called Jules from NZ. So there's a little bit of everything in there in terms of what I'm doing day to day. I make hokey pokey. I tell you about my favorite high heels. I tell you about how Tip Top ice cream originated in New Zealand. There's like a bunch of different stuff on there. So come along. Don't listen to all of the episodes if you don't want to. Listen to some of them. Drop in. Leave me a voice message. I love it all.
Excellent. As always, I only get on guests whose other podcasts I listen to as well, and I definitely enjoy both of you guys. So
Yeah.
there you go. Thanks. So there's my plug. I will have links in the show notes below where you can find both of their podcasts. And yeah, thanks again, guys, for joining us.
Oh, no. Thank you for having us. This has been a real
Thank
blast.
you for having me.
And yeah, that takes us down to the end. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you want to get in contact with us, the easiest way to find us is on Twitter at Movie Reviews In, on email at mritqs@gmail.com, or you can find us on Facebook and just search out Movie Reviews in 20 Qs. There's links down in the show notes below. Upcoming episodes, we have a episode starring John Mark Jenkins and Jay Ledbetter. We were talking about Ocean's 11. The week after that, we've got something special. I'm actually stepping aside, and it's going to be a girl on girl on girl episode. Everyone loves a bit of girl on girl on girl.
Sexy.
Yeah.
Ooh, so spicy.
Where 20 questions are thrown at Legally Blonde. Very happy to be sitting that movie out. Have a special host for that episode, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, that's the end basically. Yeah, cheers. Thanks for me.
Thanks for me.
Thanks for me.
And
Goodbye.
I just want listeners to know that I'm quite drunk. I can't feel my face. I'm quite drunk. I may or may not be pretty fucking inebriated right now. I'm fucking pissed. Fucking hammered right now. Wasted.
I'm going to make a supercut at the end of you saying how drunk you are. That's what I'm going to do, man.
Let's add another one. I'm fucking wasted.
Here we go.
Can you imagine a world immune to all forms of cancer?
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for our 4th annual live stream for the cure.
And this year, we need your help more than ever.
Please join us May 27th through May 31st for 48 hours of live content from guests and podcasts around the world.
We'll be aiming for our most ambitious goal to date as we try to raise $10,000 for the Cancer Research Institute.
Please visit www.livestreamforthecure.com for more information on this year's event and how you can be a part of it. Together, we can make a difference.